Hello and welcome to the Master Series, where we engage in conversation with our 2020 Pinnacle Award winners. I am really happy today to have a very special person here with me today, Ms. Akilah Glaspie of the Gingerbread School. Hi, Akilah.
Hi, everyone.
And I'm Carol Guest. I serve as your interim president for the Greater Houston Black Chamber of Commerce. And so we're going to have a really interesting conversation today with regard to business, with regard to the daycare industry, and these are going to be principles that you'll be able to take back into your own business. Doing good business is not industry specific, and our Pinnacle Award winners have demonstrated that they are stellar at what they do. And we're going to learn some tips from Akilah today. So Akilah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am an accountant by trade. So stepping into the educational industry has been a pivot in itself. It started off as something, a passion business. And it was something that I wanted to do after I kind of stepped out of financial services. And I've been at it since 2018. I've seen that there was a greater need here with the disparities that face the childcare industry. And I thought I'd be better of service on this end, alongside the financial services as well, but more of service here with the little people, our future generation, our future entrepreneurs, being able to kind of mold and shape them. The company is founded by me and my husband. It is a family-owned, privately owned business, husband and wife. It takes two to make it happen. And we really incorporate family in everything that we do at the Gingerbread School. We want it to be a community-based childcare facility, and that is exactly what it has become.
So you stepped out of accounting into this particular business, and you called it a passion project at the very beginning. So do you feel like leaving the financial services industry has been of benefit to you?
At times, as far as, my purpose, I'm really big on balance and just finding out and doing what you love every day. So it's been a benefit because I've been able to refocus on, where it all starts. Before you can get into the financial service industry and become an accountant or a bookkeeper, it starts with early education. And being able to open doors and provide people the opportunity to be able to do things like that. So I will say it's a benefit for me in terms of, being able to have that balance, doing what I love every day, getting up and waking up, because that's what I found myself doing when I was in financial services. If I wasn't, working there, all my spare time was done volunteering in youth residential centers. All my time was spent planning community events, mentoring in the local schools. So it's more so of just a transition. I still have my practice. I still have a bookkeeping office, but the Gingerbread School is where my focus at. So yes, it's a benefit, but I still love a bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. And with so much going on, how do you balance your time, balance your life? How do you find time for yourself?
If you would have asked me that post-COVID, I would have had a ready answer for you. But I will say balance is challenging right now. And right now, my focus is not necessarily on balance at this moment, dealing with COVID while we're still in COVID. My thing is more so about prioritizing. Because right now it is so many things that are coming our way on a personal end, on a professional end, and trying to balance it all is kind of overwhelming. So I've kind of pivoted my own thoughts, just my own thought process to be able to say, okay, you know what's priority, right? Balance, that's the long-term goal. Being able to balance my personal, my professional, and deal with all the day-to-day stuff that comes with trying to run a childcare facility. And it's been overwhelming with COVID because so many things are outside of my control, no matter how I plan it. Right now, life is out of everybody's control. I won't even say it's just me. I've seen it everywhere. So it's all about prioritizing for me. Figuring out, hey, look, this is the priority. Right now, if staffing is the priority, that's the priority. If being able to be home at a decent time to pick my kids up from school. That's a priority. So right now I'm just prioritizing. And I know ultimately as the priorities, line up, the balance will be restored. So I'm in restoration mode. We're trying to restore balance. So I don't want to tell you that I got all the balancing together, because right now, since COVID, things have been a little out of balance. So it's all about prioritizing for me right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great answer, because I think a lot of times we think we should have everything on the ball. We certainly want to present that. And I know at times I don't, and at times I do, and that's just the way life flows. So I know that there are some business owners out there and potential business owners that are happy to hear you say, be truthful about what you're having to deal with, because COVID threw everybody a curveball. We had to make adjustments very, very quickly. So thank you for being honest about that. And speaking of COVID, what adjustments did you make in your business to survive?
Well, when COVID first came about, I think everyone really didn't know how to respond to it. We quite didn't really know what it was, how big it was going to impact the industry. So when it first came about, it was more so of kind of stepping back. I see this thing getting closer. I see it's becoming very pertinent right now. So how can we kind of get ahead of it, right? So as the news and the media was bringing these COVID to our awareness, possible mandates coming into play, possible school closures into play. This was really something unprecedented for, in any industry. So mainly it was just the first thing I did was take a step back. Let me look at this, right? Is this something that we can survive through? Or is this something that, hey, look, we might have to get a nice exit strategy for the business, being that COVID directly impacted our main service, our target service, children. So we had to really step back and see, can we do this? So initially when the schools closed March of 2019, us as a precaution, because as a business owner, you always have to think about liability. You always have to think about liability. And being that we were dealing with a health pandemic, that's a liability outside of our control. Kids getting sick, staff workers getting sick, and then this is a life-threatening type of health pandemic. So it's not just, hey, look, worst case scenario, people will be out with the flu or a cough or cold. People are actually losing their lives. And I don't think anyone in any industry, especially dealing with children, wanted to have that type of liability on their hands. So my first thing was safety. And in order to be able to do that, when COVID first onset and the school closed, we did close for 30 days. So we can kind of wrap our hands around the situation. Closing for 30 days meant us not being able to service our kids. The schools were closed. The parents still had to, commute back and forth to work, and now they don't have childcare or they don't have school. So we had to make a very heartfelt decision of, hey, look, we know you need us. We know we need you, but let's see, can we still provide you the service safely and still be able to help each other out? So we closed for 30 days. And in that 30-day period, we collaborated to see, hey, how can we reopen safely? How can we reopen and still deliver the same service of perfection as far as childcare is concerned? What type of shortcomings we have to, make? What areas are we going to have to cut back on? So when we initially reopened, of course, we were following the lead of, the media, following the lead of what other childcare centers were doing. And some childcare centers, surprisingly, even the brand name childcare, big franchise childcare centers, they completely didn't reopen. So we were non-franchised and we reopened immediately within 30 days. So one of the things that we did immediately to address was, first, we followed the lead. We followed what the public, what the media, what is it that, the community feels is the best way to keep it safe. And in the process of doing that and implementing those things, we had to realize, okay, hey, look, we want to keep people safe. We want to do what they're recommending for health practices, for safety practices. However, we have to customize these things to our clientele, to our kids. So some of the things we had to really just decide, hey, look, we're going to implement this, but we're going to have to put a little tweak on it to be able to better fit our child care facility. So for instance, one of the things that we did was we downsized in terms of our classroom ratios. That hurt it really hard because of course you're taking a hit in terms of, okay, I have to service less kids. Well, if there is an outbreak or there is an illness, we're better able to contain it. We also added a new service, virtual learning. So a lot of the kids were at home, the parents still had to work. So we then had to turn our entire after school program, which was usually for after school, into an all day, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. here program where children are able to do their virtual learning at the child care facility, which means bringing in more technology, more resources, even something as simple as increasing your internet speed, like those things that you have to make just to be able to accommodate virtual learning. And of course, making sure we were doing self-care. We were just very transparent. The biggest thing I think we did to address it was being transparent. We were just very blunt and honest with parents. Hey, look, I can't stop your baby from getting COVID. If you choose to bring them to childcare, I know you have to work. I can get sick, they can get sick. And us being very transparent with our parents, not making any false promises to them, letting them know, hey, if something does happen and this virus gets out of control, we may have to close again. We may have to try to do this. So we were just very blunt and honest. Parents would ask us all the time before they brought their kids back. So what are you guys doing for safety to keep the kids safe? We're doing X, Y, Z, but please let me be very clear with you. I can do X, Y, Z, but these things, I cannot promise you or guarantee you that your baby will not contract COVID-19 from being here at the child care facility. So I think they appreciated that honesty. I think they are, and a lot of business owners don't want to ever tell people that will kind of turn, make the customer happy, make the client happy. And we do want to do that. But at the same time, we're dealing with the health pandemic and something unprecedented. So I think it would be really unfair to make parents think that way. They knew coming into the center, this is what could happen. Mm-hmm. And it just allowed for a better, us to be able to provide a service, and everybody knew where we stood. We're both in I don't know territory, both parent and child.
Yes, absolutely. So, it seems that your industry, especially, has had to deal with a lot of ups and downs with, mask mandate, no mask mandate. Should we take it upon ourselves to require our employees and our children to wear masks? How have you navigated that? And why do you think, let me rephrase it, how important is it for you to pay attention to what's happening at the State House in Austin, with regard to whether or not masks will be necessary or mandated by the state or not mandated by the state?
Well, I think the beauty of being in the U.S. And always having the power and the power of choice in choosing, paying attention right now, everyone's in the media. We have very opposing sides on what is the best way to approach this, whether it be mask mandates, non-mask mandates. And like I said, my biggest approach is just being transparent. I have to take a stand on what I feel is the best approach. And if the clientele, the children, the parents, and the families that I'm serving, they respect that approach and they follow that approach, then that's my biggest concern. My job is not to service every child and parent, but to be able to service every child and parent that works best for the Gingerbread School. So when all these things are going on in the media and you have the mass outcries on both sides of, should we vaccinate? Should we do masks? Should we do this? Me, like I said, the best practice was, per the media and the CDC, is to have children wear masks. But like I said, initially trying to do that, it's hard. You do that and you realize it's hard to keep a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old with a mask on. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to be able to make a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old understand that I have to keep my face covered all day long, possibly for 12 hours out the day, right? So initially coming in, we tried to accommodate that. And ultimately we make the decision that, hey, look, the babies, the children, we can't do the mask. We just not. Parents, if you have an issue with it, and you have an issue with the way we're approaching that COVID best practice, then this is not the school for you at this time, right? So being able to pay attention to the media was it was very important because a lot of these mandates had penalties that go along with it. They start making these mandates apply to regulatory agencies. So childcare is regulated by DFPS, Department of Family and Protective Services. So they mandated and said we required we have to provide our new staff, all our staff, new and old, COVID-19 trainings. We had to restrict facility access, so parents weren't able to come in and out. And if you're not staying aloof of those type of things that are taking place in the media, because you would think they would, hey, look, you're a center. This is what you have to do now to comply with this. No, they don't do that. They're expecting you to watch the news. They're expecting you to check your email. They're expecting you to know, hey, the mask mandate was passed. So if they pop up at your licensed facility for an inspection, they're expecting XYZ to be taking place. So at that point, it was more so, okay, this is what we're required to do, and this is what we're not required to do, right? So staying aloof and being able to know what's going on is very important because, like I said, for liability purposes, as a business owner, there's the liability. A lot of the new legislation that's coming out directly affects childcare facilities. They are trying to recreate the early learning industry. The Biden administration is really aiming to provide, I guess COVID really showed light on the disparity faced by childcare facilities and the desperate need for more subsidized centers, the need for more resources. So in light of that, not knowing and staying aloof of what Biden administration is trying to doing, we wouldn't be able to position ourselves to be able to take advantage of all those things coming our way. Because there's going to be a lot of things coming our way in the future for our particular industry. But right now, we need to start positioning ourselves to receive it. And the only way we would know about that is by staying in tune with what's going on in politics. You think you just have to worry about what's going on the news. But no, you have to know what's going on in the House, in the Senate. What is the new administration? These bills that are being passed that people have to vote on and approve, but no one really knows about that directly affect your industry. And you don't find out about it until, hey, it's passed down telling you what you have to do, versus we have time to go and advocate for that while it's in the making process.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. That's one of the things that we do at the Chamber as far as small businesses is stay on top of what is coming out of the state capitol with regard to small businesses, because it affects your profits, it affects your bottom line, and it affects how you're able to move and conduct business. So you have eloquently talked about why it is important to be politically aware and to stay on top of things regarding your industry. So thank you for those comments. I wanted to ask you, just pivoting slightly, you started your business. It was a passion business, and now it's growing and thriving. You've managed to maintain during COVID. But in the beginning, how was your business funded? Was it difficult to find capital, or what was your experience with that?
I think cash flow is the biggest obstacle of small business owners, especially minority business owners. I think it will be a forever, well, not a forever, we're not gonna say that. I think it's always an immediate issue, and funding is always at the forefront of the business. So initially, when we opened the Gingerbread School, it was funded off of leveraging personal capital with private equity loans. We had a nice network of individuals who were willing and able to support that our vision. So the initial startup was funded between that and our own personal capital. Me and my husband, our finance, we had to, hey, look, this is our passion, and we have to go reach into our own pockets to get it. Now that we are in year 2021, We are stepping away. We are leveraging more and more of different resources that have now become available for minority and small business owners. We are also leveraging different type of micro and small business loans that really, allow us to be able to get the cash flow that we need. A lot of business owners, what I've seen in small, especially minority, I only can attest to minority business owners, is that you don't know where the funding is. And when you do find the funding, being able to qualify for the funding, right? So even before we even opened the Gingerbread School, we had to do a lot of personal making sure, hey, look, can we position ourselves to be able to be in the best position to get approved for funding? And that involves credit. That involves making sure, our debt to equity ratios, making sure you can be able to afford the funding that you're going to be getting for your business. A lot of people go out and apply for small business loans and don't realize, hey, this money has to be paid back. And is your business going to be able to sustain that debt until it can start making money to pay it back? So initially, it was a huge capital investment on the personal end. And if I had to do it again and repeat the process, I wouldn't have leveraged as much of my personal capital as much. Everybody wants to, nobody wants to go into, a business in the negative or start a business in the negative. However, the reality of it is, even the biggest publicly traded companies, they leverage their personal equity. They leverage investors. They leverage small business loans. They leverage resources and funding that is available for their business. So it's basically being able to know where it is, knowing the type of loans and funding you qualify for, and then making sure you yourself and the business itself, because a lot of people are like, oh, my credit is great. This is great. Well, how's the business? Is the business incorporated? Is it registered? Is the business, does it have any type of certifications? So you have to paint pretty much a pretty picture for your business as well, so that lenders can know, hey, look, I'm lending to a credible business. I'm lending to a credible person. And that takes strategy. That takes time. It takes planning. So, and we're still in the process. Cash flow is something that we're always constantly maintaining and trying to secure more funds for.
Yeah, cash flow is definitely a small business owner's issue. And so in talking with several of you all, the Pinnacle winners, you all have best practices and things that you do to make sure that you stay on top of things. And as far as cash flow, one of the things that I hear you all say on a consistent basis is you are checking your bank account every day. You're staying on top of, the ins and outs, the flow of money. Why isn't the money coming in, and et cetera. And so can you speak to that? How much attention do you think a business owner should pay to those types of things?
That is the story of my life. That is the story of my life. So I'm going to be honest, especially with small business owners, and we're wearing many hats. If you're a startup, entry level, or even if your business is seasoned and you're wearing that hat of not just the owner, but you're the accountant, you're the CPA, you're the bookkeeper. I spend a lot of time attesting to that. Yes, I have to check the accounts daily. I have to make sure I have an airtight accounting system in place. It was easy for me because I come from the financial services background. So me and QuickBooks are like best friends, right? Me and QuickBooks are like best friends, but I do have to check the accounts. I do have to, at the end of the month, know where every dollar is going and every dollar that comes in the business. If a parent pays their weekly tuition, I have to know what every dollar is allocated and earmarked for before, hey, I can spend it, before me and my husband can withdraw from the company, or how much of this has to be retained, how much does it have to be saved. So it's a daily process. It's a daily process. And until a business builds up enough reserves to be able, or enough operating capital where they can outsource that task, then yeah, it's part of your daily life, as far as watching and monitoring and forecasting and being able to know, hey, if the unexpected comes, this is what we won't be able to do, this is what we can do. So it's I'm going to say it's very daunting, but It's 2021, and this is still our daily routine. One of the best practices that I say I would do with cash flow and what we've had to do in the midst of COVID-19 is creating a budget for the business based off of what we have, not off of what we expect to have. A lot of people go into businesses creating business plans off of expected revenue. They do few, unrealistic numbers. So based off what we have today, what can we do? How will that sustain us? So budgeting, always constant on the search, on the go daily, looking for funding. We are now pivoting, looking for more of private funding and investors. COVID has opened up a generous spirit. So you see a lot of businesses, even ones that are on the same, in the same industry, willing to help and support one another. So we're seeing that there's so many other untapped funding sources that we could be stepping into. And we're looking at that as well. And also finding ways to how can we generate more revenue from our existing services? Because a lot of times we provide a service and don't realize, hey, look, we're not tapping in to, our maximum margins, profit margins for the service we're providing. A $20 price increase can make a world of difference. It can make or break whether or not you can hire another person or not. So just perfecting and constantly watching the numbers, constantly making sure at the end of the month, I know where it went and why it went there.
Mm-hmm. Now, what would you say? I mean, everything that you just said is really, really important as far as growing and sustaining your business. But what would you say to the person who is just starting out, that may not have the finance background that you have, the accounting background that you have? How can they make best use of someone to help them with the financial piece of their business, even if they are a mature business?
I would say, from my personal experience, if it just depends on what the stage of the business is. But for someone that's new, wanted to come in, this is their small business, I say, one, you have to be prepared to leverage your personal capital, right? You have to be ready to do that. A lot of business owners want to start businesses, but they don't want to dig into their pockets. They want to dig into, I need a grant, or I want to get something. No, you have to be willing to put your money where your mouth is and be able to invest. You're your first investor. You are your first investor. And that's one. Be ready to spend your own money. And whether that money be from a retirement account you may have, an investment account, or some people who are still working their 9-to-5, their corporate job, being able to leverage that to be able to start their business temporarily. But also, I would also say for new business owners is to be ready to know and identify funding sources, right? A lot of people are unaware of, everybody thinks, if I need a loan, I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to go to my local bank. I'm going to go where I bank at to get a small business loan, not knowing there's so many other small funding sources that are not the traditional bank loans. They might not give you all the money you need to start your business. And a lot of people think, I need to get this loan. If you need $100,000 to start up, you might have to get that from 4 or 5 different places if you don't have one lender that's able to provide that to you. So I think being realistic, knowing they have to go in being realistic, knowing, hey, look, money is not easy to get. And you have to, once you get it, cultivating and establishing those relationships, understanding that credit is king. If you are lent or you are loaned money, being able to maintain it, paying it back on time, making sure you are doing everything for the loan terms that it is, because lenders want to see that you're credible. And once they lend to you and you pay back, they will be more apt to lend to you again and even more. So being realistic with that, not overspending. A lot of times small business owners, they have a vision, with their business. They want the nicest office space. They want the pretty decor. They want all the things that make the business look appealing to the eye. And that's great, depending on what your service. But you have to be realistic about what can you afford. A lot of times when I start the daycare, everyone told me, Akilah, don't buy all brand new childcare furniture. And me, oh, no, I want the best. I'm going to get this and I'm going to get this. And now 2 years later, and I've watched how these kids have run through some of these toys. It's like, yeah, I could have saved quite a bit of money buying used things. So I encourage networking. A lot of things you may need for your business, people already have. Another person's trash is another person's treasure. So when you're looking for office furniture, when you're looking for these startup expenses, don't just go straight to, hey, look, do I have to buy it? Look for ways to where maybe it can be lent, loaned, leased, given away. You can also, if you have a good network of people who believe and you have good credibility amongst them, you'll be amazed of how many people may want to support your vision, right? Like I said, our first business loan came from a private equity investor who was a really good friend of mine. And he was like, hey, look, I know what you already do. So, hey, here, let me support it. So establishing connections and networks with people, and if they can't lend or help you out financially, they can at least point you in the right direction of where you can go get these things that you need.
Yes, absolutely. I think, Akilah, we could just film you. Just give so much great advice, with regard to running a business. I wanted to ask a couple more questions before we wrap up. So, there has been talk about the shortage of workers in the marketplace these days. Prior to COVID, I know it took a team for you to run your business successfully. So let's talk about what you thought a good team looked like, how it operated before COVID, and now that we're in COVID, how you're working with your team.
Well, like you said, the shortage is in every industry. So I can't even, complain about, childcare, because I go everywhere and I see the staff shortages signs. So I know I'm not in the boat alone with this. So that kind of soothes me a little bit, knowing that it's not just me in the Gingerbread school that are having, the staffing shortages. But in terms of before COVID, the Gingerbread school started off, like I said, as a passion business. So in my mind, I had the vision of what a great team looked like. Right? I could envision it. I could see it, how our staff works together, how we treat our clients, how we treat our children, how we treat our parents, the relationship, the morale, the company culture. I had it all in my head, before we opened. And then this is all pre-COVID that I'm speaking of. And then once we started and we began to hire and recruit team members, we realized a huge disparity with the childcare industry. It is no secret. It's the secret that nobody wants to acknowledge. Quality people have to be paid quality salaries. They have to be paid living wages. It's the old saying of you get what you pay for. That is not a myth. That is true. And a huge disparity in the childcare industry between subsidized centers and non-subsidized. So the Gingerbread School is considered a subsidized center, meaning we cater to parents who may be in that low income bracket, and they receive child care payment assistance, and we accept that payment assistance. So we're considered a subsidized center. Our child care rates are typically lesser than the market rate that you may find at one of your brand name schools. And that's because our target audience is those parents, right? That's our mission. So you find that the type of people that you need and the type of revenue that you're able to generate to be able to afford those people, they don't line up, right? You need to get the quality team member you're looking for. Okay, I need to be able to provide a certain type of living wage. So the way we had to overcome that, okay, look, I know I need good people, but the reality of it is the type of good people I need, we can't afford to recruit or retain those at this time. So what I did was I didn't focus on trying to create that much. I focused on, okay, look, I'm going to create a company culture where it might not be the highest paid place to be, but it's the best workplace you would want to be in, right? So we really focus on building relationships with our staff members, making sure this is a place that you want to be. You may not be able to get paid what you feel you need to be paid, or you might not be qualified to be paid that, but this is a company, whereas this is a great workplace. And I think a lot of times we put emphasis on the service and not the company culture, creating a place where your employees and your staff, they want to give 100%, not just because of what they're getting paid, but because they really believe in what you're doing. And if you can get your staff to buy in to your purpose and to your vision, they will work for you because they're not working for the money anymore. They're working because they believe in you. They're working because they believe in your mission, your brain, whatever that you're trying to do. So we had to really put emphasis on that. So from not just training people to do the job, but trying to train people to establish the mindset that we were looking for, like growth mindset, trying to get them to align with our principles and our core values, which is my core values with childcare is I want to be family. Childcare, we're an extension of the family. Every child that comes in here, for me, the staff members, they have to feel like family. So that was the biggest challenge that we underestimated. Like, how do you instill company culture? How do you do that? And it's still an ongoing process. It has not been an easy road. Now, in terms of post-COVID, since COVID, as we've seen a huge decrease in just staffing. We have increased wages because we have the capacity to do that now, where it's more competitive, a more competitive wage. However, it's just being able to attract the workforce. I'm not quite for sure. It's a lot of theories on why people have not returned to the workplace. But I do feel like when they do return to the workplace, my emphasis will be heavily on, again, training and company culture, because it's ongoing. It's ongoing. But right now, we are stretched thin. Right now, we are experiencing a huge staff shortage. And it's one of those things that's out of my control. We're just going to have to work with what we have right now. But we do have open doors. So when the people are ready to return to workforce, the Gingerbread School is here. We are here.
Exactly. I mean, well said. You work with what you have, and the company culture is really important. You know, that's how you keep good people on staff, even if, you know, the wages or salary are at the higher end. If it's a culture that is not conducive to staff well-being, it really doesn't matter how much you pay people, because at the end of the day, they'll be moving on.
Exactly.
You know, if they don't feel comfortable in the work environment. So pivoting, will be our last question. How have you utilized social media to grow your business? What impact has it had? Social
media is huge in terms of creating visibility for your business. The impact it has had has been, just tremendous, because when you're a small business owner, you might not have that marketing budget. You might not have the revenue to be able to have an entire team that's just dedicated to marketing and community engagement. So social media has allowed us to build visibility and get our brand out for fairly cheap. Social media is free. Most social media platforms are free. So it allows us to be able to get visibility. It allows us to be able to connect with our clients, because of course we're not able to just see our clientele from a service perspective. We can actually see what they're living like on a personal level. So that way we can better address their service needs. So it allows us to engage. Social media, we live in a world where everyone is dependent upon human interaction. We want to know, we want to see, feel, and touch, and know that me and you are the same. So it is allowed for us to go deeper past a service level to really look and see who our clientele are as people. And it also allows them to see who we are as people, because behind the business, here's a face. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm not just the lady that owns the local community daycare. So allowing them to see us on a more realistic level has allowed them to empathize as well. especially with staff shortages. Hey, look, y'all see me here. I'm here from 6 a.m. to 7. So I'm on the same, me and you are here. It also allows us to be able to quickly get information out to people. A lot of people may not know what we're doing. A lot of people may not even know we're here. And social media has allowed us to do that. I don't think we've ever did any type of print marketing. The word of mouth, it travels. And it also just allows us to have a real-time relationship. If people don't like your service, they're going to write a review. They're going to put their comment. They're going to make us, so you don't have to find out 3 months into your business whether or not people like your service. You're going to know instantly, so you can change it. Oh, wait a minute. They made a comment. They made a review. They didn't like that. A lot of people are liking this other day. So you're able to quickly identify your service deficiencies and address it immediately before it can spread around. So if someone doesn't like your service, okay, great. Let me hurry up and address this before the chitter chatter and then 4 or 5 people spread the word about that. So you're able to really nip things in the bud immediately. So yes, social media is key for us, and learning how to utilize all platforms is my long-term goal, because there's so many platforms. It's so many platforms. And I tell anybody, if you're trying to be the greatest of them all, more power to you. It's all about priority. It's not about balance. Oh, I'm going to balance Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. No, which are your pick 2 of them, prioritize. This is where we're going to hit people hard at and just focus on it. Because if not, social media and marketing can be overwhelming in itself.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to, that's very smart. I mean, focus on the platform where your audience is, where your demand is, or where you can create demand, so one of the things that I'm glad that you've said kind of throughout our conversation is really knowing what your lane is and staying in it, not trying to be all things to all people, because the fact of the matter is that you can't do that. So you might as well just maximize business with the group of people that want your service and that there's a demand for. So,
and I can attest to that, because social media gives people false perceptions that you have to have 51,000 followers. You have to have 23,000 likes. You have to have for you to be successful, for your business to be out there. But I tell people, no, the Gingerbread might not be known as a national change, but if you come to 77396, 77338, if you come to Humble, Texas, you know where the Gingerbread School is. So I tell people, I'm not trying to dominate an industry. I am trying to dominate my target audience. I want to be the leading childcare provider in this area, this demographic. And so I think when you just hone in on that select group of people, and if you don't even know your select group of people yet, your select area code, just that particular area, and you dominate that and you deliver perfection in that, you can still amount to the same masses in growth as if you were catering to people on a national scale. So I just tell people, yeah, stay in your lane. This is where you are. This is where your network is. Maximize it. Maximize it to the fullest. And that will bring you more growth than trying to just target this demographic, that demographic. No, pick one and work it well. Deliver perfection to it.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said, Akilah. And now you all know why she was chosen as a Mack. She and her husband, Brandon, were chosen as a Mack H. Jr. Upstart Award winners, because they have great wisdom and business sense when it comes to running their businesses. And we look forward to many more years of hearing how well they're doing. So thank you, Akilah, for your time.
Thank you for having us.
And give Brandon our best, everyone.
I will.
Please do. Please do. And stay tuned, everyone, for October 23rd. That will be our 27th annual Pinnacle Awards. And it will be broadcast on the KHOU sister station Quest 55 in live time. Also on our Facebook and YouTube platforms. It will be live streamed there as well. You can join us at 6:30 for the pre-show. 7 p.m. Begins the event, and we will have a post-show afterwards. So thank you again, Akilah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. And I'll see you next time on The Masters. Take care.